How we doing, Trips? How's the day going? Mine's has been busy. Just taking care of a lot of stuff at home and that. And I went back to karate tonight. I had been off karate since at least 3 weeks. I think the last time I was there, remember that storm Ewan or whatever it was called? That was the last time I was at class that week. So I'd kind of considered quitting, to be honest. I just had too much going on with Christopher's mum and all the kind of stuff that goes with that. But I don't know why. Today I just decided I need to go back. If I'm going back, I need to do it now. So I went back and it was a different night. We had the mats out, we were doing sweeps and things like that, which is quite good. It's different, so I'm proud of myself, do you know, because it is hard, like, it's a workout, and I feel it's, for me personally, it's better than going to a gym or running up mountains or hills, do you know. That's good if you want to develop cardio, but for me this is much better. I get a lot more out of this. But anyway, I went and met Sean Toll yesterday and we filmed a 2 hour podcast on the apparent links between trauma, prison, like childhood trauma, prison and poverty. Now, it's always good to have these kind of intelligent discussions, because in my daily life, sometimes I'm surrounded by a lot of people who can't really have an intelligent discussion with me, but that's why I kind of disassociate a lot. But it was a good chat, and I just would like to say I do think that a lot of people in prison have like a lot of historic trauma. Well, historic trauma, that's the wrong thing to say. I mean, a lot of childhood trauma that has kind of catalysed a life of crime, but I also feel that more should be done to help them, but at the same time, sorry, you have to want the help. It's like my kid's mum, right? She's on hard drugs. For the past 2 years she's been deteriorating, and it's very hard to watch, but at the end of the day, you have to want help, you have to be strong enough, or you just need to hit rock bottom, whatever it is. And I can identify with that because obviously the way I dealt with trauma was committing crimes, hurting people, getting involved in big fights out in the street with weapons, all this kind of stuff, because it made me, it bolstered my ego, it bolstered my self-esteem, and it helped shape the identity that I was presenting, my self-presentation, because I've never made any secret of the fact that when I was like a 13, 14-year-old kid, my ambition in life was to be like fucking Scotland's answer to name a famous criminal, whoever, do you know what I mean? Just that kind of instant recognition. They'll be writing books about you, making documentaries about you when you're passed away, all that kind of shit. I've grown out of it now, obviously, but I'm obviously I'm my own man, but sorry, the fact is that a lot of people who and I do believe this, a lot of people who go to prison started off as victims of crime and became perpetrators. And to me, trauma's not an excuse. That's not an excuse, it's an explanation. But we're kind of stuck between this, it's like this grey area. The system has to do more to help us. People, well, I don't want to include myself in that, right? But I mean, people who are in prison, sorry for yawning all the time. I think I'm conditioned to yawn when I'm making a video. I don't yawn all day, and then when I make a video I start yawning all the time. I think I've kind of conditioned myself every time I make like the video, you know, weird. But back to what I was saying, we're stuck in this kind of grey area where the system has to do more to help people coming out of prison, but at the same time, you have to put the fucking work in. You have to put in that self-work, reflexive analysis. You have to ask yourself a lot of hard fucking questions. And these questions, only you have the answer. Like, when I was in prison, the last time I was in prison, the 16-year sentence, right? I knew when I got that sentence, I had to turn my life around because, and I'll explain that, in the years in the community prior to that sentence, now remember this is in between two sentences, so when I was in Parliament Young Offenders serving 4 years, and like I was running a bit crazy, I had weapons on me, was like, there was always somebody who I had to assault for whatever reason. They were bad mouthing me, they'd beat my friend up, they had slapped my girlfriend, they'd spat on her, whatever it is, right? And we're taught, so I obviously, cause I grew up in the 80s, 90s and the early 2000s, and trust me, a lot different, especially where I live, a lot different. And I remember doing some of the most outrageous fucking things that I would be disgusted with if I seen somebody else. For example, remember chasing people through shops with machetes, baseball bats, whatever. Them running out the back, the lot. See, if I was standing in a shop buying shit and saw that happening, I would be disgusted. But I understand it because I was that person. But what was powering that absolute nuclear rage? It was obviously my dad's death when I was just turning 14. I was 2 months shy of my 14th birthday, so my son's age right now. And obviously because when I was 12 I'd lived with my biological mum for a brief period, and 14 months I lived with her, as I've explained in other videos and podcasts, and they were dealing in heroin, they were like kicking the shit out of us every other day, like fucking the things that the beatings that they gave me and my younger brother, let me assure you, even though I knew it wasn't normal then, I felt like they're the adults, they're allowed to do this. But let me tell you something, sorry, if this was this day and age, they would have went to prison for a long time, man. I remember me and my brother, he was only 7 or 8 at the time, I was 12, 11 or 12, and we would have these big purple lines, like stripes, like from where they whacked us with belts, and fucking, I get whacked over the lower thigh just above my kneecap with a golf club. We're talking about a 12-year-old kid here. I look at my own son and think, somebody hurt my son with a golf club. The thought of prison, court, anything at all, that's not even in my thinking equation at that point. You never know it could be, but I'm quite chilled and laid back. But, well, not as crazy as I used to be anyway, put it that way. But when it comes to my child, and I think a lot of parents are like this isn't just me. It's like, oh, I'm fucking super dad, do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of parents out there, even people who have never even had a parking ticket, but touch their kids, man, they'll fight to the death. So I would do anything to protect my son. You have no idea. But the things that, when I look at my son, I could never envisage him going through that kind of trauma. It doesn't bear thinking about. But at the same time, I've kind of caused my son a trauma. Well, if you look at visiting an adult in prison as a trauma, I met my son in Berlin prison visitors room. I was sent back to prison 2 weeks before my son was born because I was out on parole. And my parole was revoked and I went back to prison. And he was born 2 weeks after I went back. And obviously, as I'd explained, he was 8 years old by the time I was released. 8 years old. So for the first 8 years of his life, he was visiting different prisons. Now, I suppose the good thing is I'm quite resilient in the fact that when I go back to that, when I leave that visiting room, I always make sure I leave on a high. I don't go back and dwell on stuff, and always make sure it's a happy visit. And I'm quite resilient, whereas I don't go back and dwell on, oh, are they going to be okay, are they thinking about me, all this kind of stuff. And I would like to think my son was the same. But there was one time, only one time, right? I think he was only about 4 or 5. And he came to a visit and said how these 2 boys were bullying him, right? And I phoned his mum and I said to his mum, this was before she was like fucking bad with drinking drugs. And I said, go and speak to the parents, because basically if I have to speak to them, then I'm probably not going to be doing much talking. Because you need to remember, like, I was new to this. Do you know what I mean? I was new to being a dad, and I'm super protective of my son. But at the end of the day, I realise that with kids can be kids. But he's a great child. He respects his elders. He respects authority. He's very polite, well-mannered. Sometimes he can be a bit moody, but he's hitting the teenage years now. But back to the kind of the trauma stuff. See the fucking prison system, right? Let's just be fucking honest. It is a failed experiment. But we need prisons. There is no fucking doubt we need prisons in society. But we need them for the safety of society, right? Who do we need to be kept safe from? We all know. People like me back in the day even, you know, there's no fucking, mate, I needed put in prison, there is no two fucking ways about that. But prison as much as I grudge saying this, right? But prison did help me turn my life around. And I remember when I got the 16 years, right, I just thought to myself, I have to change. This is my time to change. I've got long enough and I just have to do it. But see, when I went to Shorts, right, went to Shorts prison, and as a lot of people know who've been following this channel since its inception, I was big into education. A lot of guys go to the gym, a lot of guys hit the drugs, a lot of guys fucking go to education, or guys just work their days away, right? So I was like an education guy. I would just tell a screw to fuck off. I'm not going to work. I'm not working for you. I'm going to work for myself. I'm doing education. This is what I want to do. I wouldn't say it like that unless I felt like they were trying to like tell me what I'm doing with my sentence. You're not telling me fuck all, mate. Like, no happening. Just, there's a lot of prisoners like that. You stand your fucking ground, man. Do you know what I mean? You serve that time. You'll fucking tell them what you're doing. They don't tell you nothing, mate. You know what I mean? But education, aye. And when I was going up to the education department Shorts, there was a couple of lifers, right? And one of them, so I'm 22 years old, so I'm a pup. There was this guy who'd been in prison. I'll do a video on him, in fact. What was his name? Andy Walker. He was in for like 3 murders, right? 3, as if one's no bad enough, right? Him for 3 murders. I think he like fucking robbed, he was in the army and I think he'd robbed the fucking wages or something and killed the 3 guys that were driving the van or whatever, like that. And he'd been in prison since 1984, right? I was 2 years old then. So this guy's been in prison since I was 2 years old. And I remember he was just, after a while he warmed up to me. You got to know him and all that, but he just seemed so cynical and bitter. And I remember looking at him and like the other guys that were kind of like him, and I said to myself, I'm not ending up like that. I'm not going to be one of these guys who sitting in prison in the year 2055, whatever the fuck, right? Some young guy comes in and I'm like, alright pal, what age, what blah blah blah, I'm talking about him, like, when were you born? Like, oh, such and such a year, and I'm like, fuck's sake, that's a year I went away, like, fucking what? So I knew, I just had to sort it out. But see, the funny thing is that helped me was a lot of swimming through my own mind, listening to my own thoughts, having a conversation with my soul, asking myself, why am I fucking like this? How did I end up here? And I didn't show that a lot of the time, obviously, because in prison, a lot of people put on a mask. I really did think I had a mask on in the young offenders, 100%. But I think that as I got to the adult system, I kind of let it, just trying to be myself a lot of the time. Just be authentic, do your own thing. You don't need to be somebody you're not, because one day somebody could call your bluff. That's how I see it. Always try and act. See the way you are outside, try and act like that in there. But the way I look at it is, I hate that word rehabilitation. I hate even fucking using it, but I'm just going to use it out of laziness. I rehabilitated myself. In fact, I'm not even fucking rehabilitated. I'm desisting from crime. This is the whole thing that we need to be teaching adult male offenders, especially ones that are recidivists, re-offenders, in and out all the fucking time, whether it's short sentences or big sentences, because desistance from crime, studying it academically, helped me learn a lot about myself. It was very, very insightful and helpful. But I don't really know if there's any kind of stuff out there on desistance and trauma, but I feel that trauma-informed practice, as they like to call it, that's not going to work in an adult prison. No, the way when I say that, what I mean is, say they've got a mandate to get 10 guys a month or a year to do trauma-informed work, they will probably end up with about 2. Adult males, I think, see it as like, in the prison system in Scotland, see it as like, that fucking ship sailed. What the fuck do I want to talk to you about getting the shit kicked out of me as a child? You think I want to speak to you about that? Who the fuck are you, mate? What makes you think you should know me like that? And rightfully so, because a lot of people, myself included, have approached authorities about shit that was going on at home when we were children, whatever. I remember reporting my mum and her husband to social work for the beatings they were giving me and my brother. Know what they done? Took me back, and I got a worse one. So then you're learning, nobody's coming to save you. You know who's coming to save you? You are, right? You get what I'm saying? I fucking saved myself. That's how I fucking see it. Obviously having a child played a massive part in that, because there is no storm I couldn't weather if it meant being free and being able to bring up my child. And I'm on my child. There's only one thing standing between a shitty life and my son, and it's me. You know what I'm talking about? So, turning the other cheek or fucking whatever I have to do to make this happen, this life I have now, is, to me, I'm living I'm living the dream. I've been in prison since the age of 15 to like 38, non-stop. And when I wasn't in prison, I was on parole, whatever. So, involvement with the criminal justice system for 20 odd years, and not once do I ever remember them trying to look at it through a clinical lens. They're looking at it through the forensic lens, and what I mean by that is, if you say things like, oh, I was beaten up as a kid, or fucking whatever, they'll write it down, but they look at it as like, through the eyes of, how do we manage this guy? He's dangerous and risk all this shit. I don't think we'll ever have a trauma-informed prison in Scotland. And it's funny because Shonto actually said that Scotland is small enough, the prison system in Scotland is small enough to even build one fucking prison that is solely focused on therapy, rehabilitation, fucking singing Kumbaya around a fucking campfire in the prison yard, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? The government, the prison service, all these entities, I call them non-entities, right? But there is good people in government and the prison service, but I don't know many of them. No, I've met a few good prison staff that are more on the humane side and all that. Met scumbags as well, but that's same with fucking any walk of life. You know, you meet bad and good. But I just think that every few years these idiots come up with these buzzwords. It's the new academic fad, right? This is the latest research. See, for every bit of fucking research, man, you've got somebody else rebuffing it. So who's right? We need to help people learn about themselves, about why they commit these crimes, about why they think the way they do, about why they have antisocial coping strategies. Because when you learn about yourself, you can almost stay 10 steps ahead of yourself. I feel like that sometimes. Just try to manage yourself, especially if you've been in prison a long time for serious offences. I don't think for 1 second that anybody who's went to prison for violence or fucking murder or whatever does not have the potential or the capability to do that again. I think when people cease to commit crime, they start to notice changes where they can build on it. So it's like, you stop offending long enough, sooner or later you'll stop to see yourself as an offender. You know what I mean? But I think that this trauma informed shit, man, that they're going to roll out across the prison service. Watch this space, right? We'll see what they're saying next time they bring their fucking newsletter out, you know what I mean? Just absolute shite, man. It keeps them in a job. Do you honestly think? And it's not the frontline staff that's locking your doors at night that are like that. These are policy makers. These are the people at the top of the fucking pyramid in their ivory towers. They've probably never seen a fucking prison, and they're dictating policy. It's fucking pure shit show, mate. Do you know what I mean? But it was really interesting, a lot of the stuff we kind of spoke about in that. Because obviously one of the things Sean said to me was, Andrew Tate, right, I'm not a fan. I think he's quite arrogant. And I think a lot of arrogance is born out of low self-esteem. And I'm speaking for experience here. You know what I'm talking about? 14-year-old boy, 15-year-old try to act like you're fucking the kingpin, but in there you're dead inside, you know what I mean? I don't know, he said, weak men use trauma as an excuse, say something like that. I think there is a point to that. Some of they use it as an excuse. I use it as an excuse to fucking beat the shit out of other people from other areas that were involved in gang shit and all that. So I justified that. I was like, I have all this hate, rage and anger inside me. And because the person who caused it isn't here, like you are, and you're annoying me the now, you stabbed my pal or stole my auntie's car, whatever the fuck it was, right? And I'm just like, you're hit. And it was an excuse. It was like almost like the petrol that was running the engine, the hate and the anger was. Especially the way I was looking at myself in the mirror every day, like I was totally indestructible. And that sometimes, to be that young, to be that angry was quite. And I remember a cop said this to me. He told me one time, he says, I can't remember if it was you or your brother, he says, but I arrested one of you, and he said, and you absolutely flipped. And I said, that was me. Attacked him and everything. 14-year-old boy, he fucking took me home one day. I was drunk and I'd been gang fighting and shit. And I attacked him in the house or something and got fucking dragged out the house kicking and screaming, fucking. But he said that to me, and I've never seen a kid with so much anger. And I was kind of like, fuck's sake. He was actually the guy who was interviewing me for, how the crime that I got the 16 years for, the attempted murder. He was the guy who was interviewing me. I didn't know who he was. And it's weird because I got a lot of my historical paperwork sent to me online, and I was looking at it, and that was in there. There was a lot of shit that was coming back, and I was looking at all the arrests I was getting. I was averaging like 3 arrests a week for fighting, just fighting in the street. And the thing is, back then, if you were under the age of 16, they couldn't take you to jail. They could maybe keep you in a cell overnight, but that was it. You'd boot the next day, unless you had really done something fucking nuts, like put somebody in hospital or stabbed the shit out of them, whatever. But I don't know. See, just trauma. You need to make peace with your demons if you want to survive. I like to think it was, my demons are almost like, I don't want to say my friends now, they're almost like part of my life. That's a fact, but I kind of don't look at them like, the childhood stuff. See, like my dad, I've made my peace with that. See, like getting the shit kicked out of me when I was fucking 12. What to do? The things that get me now are trying to stay on the straight path, not put myself in situations that's going to ruin my son's life. Because that is the whole reason I think that I'm doing this well, but I'm going to leave it there anyway. I wanted to come and make a wee video. In fact, this wasn't even what I come on to talk about, but I ended up just getting into it anyway. Yeah. But I hope that was interesting, because obviously I've not been on doing a lot of videos recently because I've been fucking sidetracked with Christopher's mum, and just like, I wasn't really feeling, and then I was doing all these lives and all that, I wasn't really feeling up to it and that. And it was like I kind of lost my, I don't want to say my video voice, you know what I mean, didn't you? Like, hello, Chris, reporting live from TinPailTV. TinPail Sheriff Court. But I pray my subs are going up all the time, man, but I don't, you know what, I don't even really know like, see, before, at the start, I used to pure look all the time, but see, now I'm just kind of like, but it's mad, see, like, the majority of people watch my videos and even sub to my channel, weird, but it's all good in the hood. Well, I'm going to leave it there for tonight, and tomorrow, Wednesday, mother class tomorrow. Do a few body slams on the mat, so I'm like the crash tester, man. It's brilliant. I love it, man. I love it, man. See, I love this has got to sound crazy, right? I love the fact that you can actually go somewhere, fight with people, and learn skills to protect yourself, and you can spar, and nobody cares, like, nobody wants to fucking stab you when you leave and all this shit. You don't need to fucking be on your toe. It's brilliant. It's better than the gym. Better for the mental health as well. And it's also set an example to my wee boy, because like I say, I'm not doing here trying to be fucking Van Damme or fucking some mad cage fighter, do you know what I mean? Like, that's not why I'm there, mate, because that's the wrong attitude to be going to these places with for a start. I'm just there trying to learn skills that might save my life if I'm standing at a bus stop one Friday night and some fucking meathead comes out of the local boozer, fucking sniffed out his box, you know what I mean, looking for a box. But aye, so sorry to be boring you anyway. I'm going to go anyway, but Thanks for tuning in, and I'll probably bounce back on tomorrow night, do a video tomorrow night, so take care, trips, over and out.